Antique shop. I actually found some stuff at an antique shop.
Did you see the picture that they sent?
I'm trying to load it right now. Oh, what are the chances?
Oh,
That is hilarious.
Oh my God, Barry Barrington.
that would have been like an instant purchase for me. I would have nothing to do with that, but
I
I
know.
need that.
It would have had to have like gone in a closet or something. Somewhere there's no way I would hang it in my house, but still. Oh man.
Oh my God, speaking of thrift store finds, let me see if I can find this one. I found this book in like a thrift store of Disney crafts, and it is so bad. I literally, I actually like scanned it all in because it's so bad, and I'm gonna get this link, and I have it on my Google Drive. Okay. I think this. See if that works. And just look at how bad these look. And this is an official Disney book.
Oh my God. Flounder's Fish Friends is fantastic. It's literally just a paper bag with some eyes drawn on it.
Dude, the Mickey and Minnie costumes are like nightmare fuel.
Oh my god! Oh, the poo is killing me. Like, where did you find this?
I think at like a Goodwill or something, or like a used bookstore or something.
The John Smith juice box ship.
Stick a straw in a juice box. There you go. I can't believe I didn't think to show you guys this sooner, because I found this book like probably a year ago or more.
The Simba one is pretty terrifying too.
Yeah,
Oh
that
my
is
God.
fantastic. Oh.
Maybe that's an episode we need to do, is like, let's go talk about like antique store finds and like get people to send in theirs. That would be fun.
That would be pretty fun.
Because I mean, I find Disney stuff all the time at thrift stores. I just don't always buy it because it's not always like gold like this one was. But I just couldn't believe this was like an official Disney. Like, this was produced by Disney. Like, they put their name on this. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a gold mine of nightmare fuel that I needed in my life right now. Anyway, I'm ready whenever you guys are.
Yep.
Okay. I am recording.
Same.
You're listening to episode 91 of the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Beth
and Brian.
So, you know what? Let's dive into our news. Not even talk about our topic, and then we'll get to that after our news, because I know that usually I kind of give a little blurb of what we're going to do this week, but I think maybe that's for the best. What do you guys think?
Yeah, works with me.
So, first thing on our news this week is that the D23 Expo lineup was announced. So weird that we're getting so close to this. But they announced the schedules for the parks, experiences, and products presentations for this year's Expo. Looks like Friday, August 23rd is going to be the Music and Sound of Star Wars at the Galaxy, or the Music and Sound of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at the D23 Expo Arena. That's going to start at 12:30. These should also be noted that these are Pacific time. I know we kind of usually run off of Eastern time, but all of this is in California, so Pacific time. Saturday, August 24th, 12:30, the Haunted Mansion celebrating 50 years. 3:30 is Immersive Worlds, bringing stories to life in Disney's parks. On stage 28, 6 p.m. is Travels with Marty, a conversation with the Scholars and Imagineering at Walt Disney's Archive stage. Sunday, August 25th is going to be 10:30 a.m. Behind the Art of Disney Costuming. 10:30 is going to be the main Disney Parks presentation. 2 p.m. Inspiring Women Behind Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at stage 28. 4 p.m. Magic Journey, the Fantastical Walt Disney Imagineering Career panel. 6 p.m. is Mark Davis in His Own Worlds, Imagineering the Disney theme park. Lots of park stuff.
Lots
of park stuff.
I'm definitely looking forward to the Saturday one. I mean, obviously starting off with the Haunted Mansion, that's huge. That's gonna be really cool. But the one with Marty Sklar, I had kind of forgotten it was right after the last D23 that he passed away, right? So this would kind of be the first time for them to to do something like this for him. So that's really cool, and I'm definitely looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to that main Disney Parks presentation and all the 50th anniversary announcements that are inevitably going to be stuck in there.
Oh yeah, man.
I'm wondering how much time is going to be between these panels, because like some of it, like this, the one before the parks is like 10 a.m. to 10 or to 10:30 is the next one. So there's a half hour between that panel and the next one. And then this one's the difference in time is 10:30 to 2 p.m. Like that's a big gap. Is there going to be that much park stuff? I kind of doubt it, but
we can hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we pretty much know that all the stuff for Epcot's coming, so that's big. But even last year, I felt like there was so much stuff that was thrown in there that it seemed like nobody had really any clue that was even coming. So the fact that we know that there's this much stuff coming for Epcot, we know there's going to be announcements for the 50th, and then maybe there are some more like, unknown stuff that they're going to throw out there. Like maybe it will run the whole time.
Yeah.
I certainly hope
true.
so.
I really hope so. And not just that, like there's a lot of panels that address the park stuff. Like, I mean, the Haunted Mansion celebrating 50 years. I don't know if that's going to have any announcements in it, but immersive world building, bringing stories to life at the Disney parks. That's probably going to, have some stuff in there. I know that an article I was reading before said they're going to talk about like the Marvel lands. And I think that's probably the next big like land expansion they've already announced. So maybe we'll hear about that. And then the main Disney Parks panel, like you said, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's already been rumored to be thrown out there. Lots of stuff about Galaxy's Edge. And then even the 4 p.m. Magical Journey, imagining my Disney career with Kevin Rafferty, like that's got some Disney archive stuff in it. So there's a lot of like panels that are specifically tied to the parks, I think more so than we've seen in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Interesting. But speaking of new stuff, looks like we are getting a new fireworks show for the Halloween party, which we kind of knew was coming.
A little late on this one.
Yeah, a little bit late on this one, but it looks like they've actually announced it. Disney's Not So Spooky Spectacular is going to be replacing Hallowishes, and it looks like it's going to be narrated by Jack Skellington, which is a pretty good fit. I am interested to see what they do with this.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, I was kind of on the fence about that because I mean I'm not a huge Nightmare Before Christmas fan, but I was trying to think like I don't know who else would be a really good host for this. What other like Disney Halloween character is there to do this with? So I think I'm pretty okay with it, and I'm just kind of excited that there's finally going to be a new show that's not named after wishes, which doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, I am really excited about this storyline that it looks like it's going to have, where Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy are in a haunted house, and they go from one room to another and encounter villains.
Ooh.
That sounds really intriguing to me.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that this is going to be. I mean, it sounds kind of like a hybrid stage show and fireworks.
Yeah, it does.
So that'll be kind of interesting because I don't. That's kind of different from anything they've done before.
Yeah. And it's going to have projection mapping too, so
It's just like all three things.
yeah. I wonder how they're going to work that out.
I don't know because this year I was kind of planning on only doing the Christmas party because we had done the Halloween party last year, but this is all this new stuff coming. This is kind of making me want to do the Halloween party.
Yeah, same.
I'm also always interested to see how like these new offerings are going to change the rest of the park in the future. Like if this is really all of that stuff that we speculated it is, how is that going to change like the expectation for a fireworks show or a stage show in the future?
That's a good point. We've talked about on here before that we're not maybe the biggest fans of the projection mapping. And I would be happier if I saw it moving more towards a stage show firework combination than being so heavily reliant on the projections.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, and I'm just excited for this nighttime show at Not So Scary to get updated because it Happy Hallowishes. It needed it.
Well, and the funny thing is like this just seems like such an obvious fit, but at the same time, like it sounds like Disney is going in the direction I really want them to do, and not in the like, oh, I'm going to be let down by this expectations versus reality kind of thing. Like Jack Skellington is so popular at Not So Scary and Very Merry for that matter, but like to have him host the show just makes a lot of sense, and then for them to incorporate Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy, that just makes a lot of sense too. And like it's just hitting all of these right notes for me that I think I'm very excited for this. And I don't know, maybe I'll try to convince that we can squeeze in a trip in during Halloween this year.
So I've got my fingers crossed now for a follow-up story on a replacement for Text Me Merry Christmas.
Oh my god, please.
Side note, this isn't one that we put in here, but did you guys see that oh my gosh, I gotta go back and Tony's Most Merriest Town Square Halloween or Most Merriest Party returns for 2019. The premium add-on that we loved so much last year is back.
I did see that.
I mean, if people pay for it, Disney's gonna keep taking money, I guess.
I know. Yeah, it's like if they sold all the tickets last year, then that's why they're doing it again.
So our last news story this week is that free dining plans have been announced, or free dining dates have been announced for fall 2019 and are available for booking. I'm not going to go through all these dates. I'm going to link this article in the show notes. It's pretty much what you'd expect from free dining. I'm not going to go through the hotels. I can go through the dates. They're pretty simple enough. September 1st through September 18th, November 17th through the 27th, December 8th through the 23rd will all be, we'll all have some availability for free dining. As always, kind of plan that you're not going to get this discount because this is one of the harder ones that Disney puts out to snag. So if you do, it's always a pleasant surprise. If not, kind of check your expectations on that one. I'm always excited when they announce free dining because this was always like the big thing that pushed me to go.
Yeah, so as someone that's used this fairly often, I mean, do you try to plan around when they're doing the free dining to get that offer? Is it worth it? I noticed one thing that it just says is that if you purchase non-discounted tickets, so do you generally find that it's better to do full price tickets and then get the free dining as opposed to trying to find a discounted ticket somewhere?
So here's the thing with free dining, and this is kind of an issue that I maybe haven't talked about on here. like with all of the resort packages and everything, it's kind of you pay rack rate for everything else and get a discount on one thing. And the thing that Disney has usually run in the past is the 20% off room rates, or like depending on what tier you're staying at, you get a room discount, and typically the room discount's better. You will 9 out of 10 times pay less for the room rate package than the free dining plan one. I know I used to plan it around free dining because then it was kind of like, well, if I'm paying for the room at the standard rate, my park hopper ticket at the standard rate, and my flights at a standard rate, why, like, I'm getting the dining plan for free, and a lot of people argue that the dining plan isn't cost effective. So that was always my justification for it. I did used to plan our trips around this. Like, you could in the past predict when it was going to pop up. I know Disney's gotten a lot better about not playing their discounts around the same time, so it is a little harder to do that now. But this was something that I did used to actually sit down and say, okay, I think, free dining is going to pop up based on how they've done it in the past couple of years. Let's book our trip for here and here, and then if free dining pops up, I'll call in as soon as the phone line opens and switch my plan around to that.
Okay.
Now, a little bit of like backstory on this funny little thing. Our first trip that Andy and I took together, I did all of that planning for free dining and everything, and we kind of got screwed over and ended up with an issue where the person I spoke to had to cancel my reservation, and then the room that we were in got booked up, and then the free dining package that I was talking to the lady about got like taken with that. So we ended up getting an upgrade. Yeah, it was like the weirdest thing. I have some really bad luck. But apparently all of that happened, and the person that I was speaking to on the phone was like, "Oh, I can book you at a royal room at Port Orleans with the same price for the discount. I'm not supposed to do that, but since we kind of got you in this predicament, I'll take care of that for you." So that's the story about how I got some good Disney magic on that one.
Oh, well, hey.
Nice. Man, I feel like I never seem to get like the benefit of the doubt Disney magic like that. Like on my last I went this past weekend just because I'm insane. And I was getting on the bus going from Animal Kingdom to Hollywood Studios, and my bus hit another bus.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
And so we had to sit there for like 30 minutes and like write down our name and phone number and if we were staying at a resort, and like they got all of our information, and then they were just like, all right, well, we'll get you on your way to Hollywood Studios. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like 8:30 and Hollywood Studios closes at 9. Am I not getting some fast passes out of this situation or like something? But
Right.
I'm not typically a complainer, so I didn't say anything. But I wish I had gotten a little bit of that little Disney magic that you got. Like, hey.
That is very surprising that they didn't do anything to make up for that.
That is super surprising. I feel like I've been in weirder situations where I've gotten more out because Disney screwed something up than that, and I'm really surprised that they weren't like, oh, well, we can at least shuttle you somewhere else, or,
They did say that they would make multiple stops, because I asked, I was like, doesn't Hollywood Studios close at 9? And it was one of those nights where there was the after hours magic or whatever they call it. So it's like they're going to actually kick you out like as soon as the shows end, like the nighttime shows. He's like, where are you trying to go? And I was like, well, I guess Port Orleans now, because I'm going to go watch Yeehaw Bob, because I'm not going to waste my time. He's like, oh, well, we can stop there. We got to stop at Hollywood Studios and then Magic Kingdom, and then we can take you to Port Orleans. And I was like, no, I'm just going to get off and get on the bus to Port Orleans. Like,
that makes more sense anyway. It'll save you so much time.
Right. I was like, no, I'm not. Are you insane? Like, no. That's like an hour and a half probably. So yeah. I was very shocked at that situation. A little like off topic, but It reminded me since you had the good luck. You need to send some of that my way.
Yeah, that was. I mean, there was a lot more that went into that. Like, I was on hold with them for like 2 hours, and I think I actually got hung up on at one point and had to call them back and request the person I was talking to. So, like, there was a lot that happened. It wasn't just straight good luck, but I am forever grateful that some of that Disney magic happened.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I guess that brings us to our topic this week, which
Well, before that, we want to make
right.
one more big announcement. This is the last big announcement, guys.
Woo!
This is the last plug because technically this will come out on Wednesday, which is 2 days before our live show. Yeah. So if you haven't heard us talk about it on every episode since we've announced it, it's coming up. Be there, be square. I think Beth, do you want to take this one over because you have a lot more of that information like easily accessible than I do, I think.
Oh, sure. So anyone who, like Mario said, hasn't seen us talking about it on social media or heard us plug it on the podcast, our second anniversary live show is going to be coming up on Friday, July 26th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please come join us. The link is going to be bit.ly/S71live2. And that'll take you to our YouTube channel where we will be live streaming. We're going to have some trivia and some prizes. You can call into us, into the show, and we can talk to you live on the air. It's going to be a really good time. Go to our website or our Facebook for all of our information if you want to send in questions and stuff. That would be awesome, and we hope to talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, I'm super excited for our live show. This is like, it's funny because like we sit here and we talk every week to each other. This is like the one time that we actually get to like kind of break that barrier and talk to the people that listen to us talk every week.
Oh yeah.
So we get to converse with some new people, which is exciting because as much as I love talking to you guys every week, it's nice to add some fresh faces in.
For sure. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with this last year, and you know, it's always great just even if people email us or write us in questions and everything, and we get to read those week to week. But like having people come on live and do it, like it's even more special. So definitely, especially if you were there last year, come out again for sure. If not, if you're a newer listener, come check it out. I had a lot of fun, and definitely don't feel nervous or whatever to call in because I'll probably be just as nervous recording the show. So just come on in, have fun with us. It'll be a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other cool thing is like we get to sit here and we've got games planned out. I know we're kind of like brainstorming some like discussion things to fill in the time with. But last year I know we planned for some of that. We really didn't need it because people were sending us things in the chat. We were having people call in. So there's so many different ways that you can actually be a part of this show. And that's always really exciting to me. Even as someone that listens to a lot of podcasts, when people say like, oh, we're going to do a live show or we're live streaming this episode, like that's always exciting because I love listening to these people. Getting to talk to them is just so much cooler.
Mm-hmm. And prizes. Did we say prizes?
Prizes. I think I mentioned it, but yes.
Okay.
Even if you didn't,
get our prizes. prizes.
Yes.
So I guess now we can talk about this week's topic, which we're kind of going to wing it. I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know what this is going to turn into, but we had the idea that since this is before our big live show, and that's when we really get to talk about us, we're going to talk about why Disney is important to us this week. And we've kind of done like little blurbs of that here and there, but I think this week we should probably just go around the table and, really tell our listeners about why we decided that, Disney was a big part of our lives and why it means so much to us and all of that fun stuff. I guess I can go first. We can go in like turn order usually.
Yeah, let's get cheesy.
Sure. This is going to be interesting. So I've talked a lot about, previous trips in the past. And one thing that I definitely don't bring to the table as much as I probably could in here is my I guess expertise with planning for large groups. The first time I ever went to Disney was with my mom's family, but like half of them. So it was, I want to say probably 8 of us, which is still a large party. And I was in like middle school. Funny enough, it was something I never actually thought would be this big of a thing in my life. But that was a trip that I remember because that was one that we took with my grandmom. We proceeded to take 3 more trips after that, and each time they got to be bigger and bigger. Our final trip altogether with my grandmom and my mom's whole family was a total of 17 people. I actually counted that out today when I looked up a picture from when we did the Spirit of Aloha dinner show. So yeah, 17 people.
Huge group.
Was it like the whole restaurant? Like, how did that work?
Well, Spirit of Aloha is like, if I remember this correctly, because this is going all the way back to like 8th grade for me. It was like picnic bench, like long table seating. So we all had one table, but a lot of times at restaurants we would actually have to split up and like do an adults table and a kids table. So there were ways around that. The only one restaurant that was actually like super accommodating, which is really, really weird, and we made it a point to go back because it was such an accommodating place, was oh my gosh, I have to actually look this up because I don't remember the restaurant's name off the top of my head. It's the
While
one
you're
in...
looking that up, I have to know, did you sit at the kids' table or the adults' table?
Oh, always the kids' table.
Even in middle school? Man.
So here's the thing. I'm actually the second oldest on my mom's side of the family. So it was one of those things where, like, even if I complained that I wanted to sit at the adults' table, that wasn't happening.
They shut you out.
Yep. Also, I'm trying to load up the Disney website, and I got a queue time on here. So going back to the whole free dining thing, like, yeah, you're gonna be here for a while. Anyway, it was the Maya Grill. We actually we used to stay at Coronado Springs a lot. That was actually the first resort we stayed at, and I want to say we stayed there the second time we went as well. But we always stayed there. We ate at the Maya Grill because they would give us an actual like long table, and we would all be able to fit at this one table, which was really weird for like a Disney restaurant.
You got 17 people in Maya Grill?
Yes, sir.
Did it used to be like 3 times the size as it is now? Because that seems pretty impressive. That's not a very big restaurant.
The only thing that I can absolutely say about that I remember from that many people was that we would always have to have a reservation, which, like, of course, if you have a large group, having a reservation is like key to doing anything. But on top of that, we would get there before our reservation and we'd still have to wait about 20 minutes because they would have to like put all of these tables together. So we'd have one big long table to actually sit at. I think there may be, I know I'm getting kind of ahead of myself, but there may be a picture of most of our party from the last time that we all went together at Maya Grill. I might be able to find that. But I'll do that while someone else is talking, so I'm not cutting out and pausing stuff here. But yeah, as we started to kind of like grow up, we went back to Disney. I want to say with my mom's whole family a total of 3 times. It ended up being that we would go around Christmas, and this is where I'm going to start to like date myself. But we would go around Christmas every year, and a big part of our tradition was Disney's Hollywood Studios and the Osborne Family Lights. And I've mentioned a few times on here that Hollywood Studios was one of my favorite parks, which is why I'm so sad about how everything's going right now. But this was a big reason why, and I think that when we talk about Disney, we talk about like the past with like former trips and like what Disney really means to us. Nostalgia is a huge thing. And I've always said that I thought Hollywood Studios was a full day park, even if most people consider it a half day park, but that's mostly because my fonder memories are in this park. So having gone and seen the Osborne Lights with my family countless times, My first actual roller coaster was Rock and Roller Coaster. Like, I have all of these memories that tie to that park and make that special for me. But continuing off of that, because I don't want to hold this up with just me. Now, gosh, it's been 5-6 years now. We lost my grandmother, and my whole family decided that we were going to do one last big Disney trip in her honor, using some of the money that she had left behind, because we knew that that was something that she wanted to do. Now, I remember planning that trip with my aunt. I remember helping her book reservations and stuff like that. And I really like to think that this trip was one that kind of kicked off my big love for Disney, because I got to do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that I didn't get to really do as a kid. So we, planned this whole trip. We went, it was a lot of fun, even though it wasn't for the best circumstances. And that's something that I know I can always hold on to, because, again, going and having that whole thing with your family is something special. But outside of all of that, I also spent my 21st birthday in Disney. That was a big thing that my friends and I decided we wanted to do. We drank around the world. It was fun. We did the stereotypical 21 thing. When Andy and I first started dating, our first big vacation was to Disney. And of course, as our listeners know, we've been a couple times since then. That being an understatement. We also got engaged in Disney, and that's just become such a big part of our lives that, this is something that we don't foresee actually being a thing that we stop doing anytime in the future. So that's what Disney means to me, and that's why I do this every week.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Now I'm going to go dig for that picture of all of us at Maya.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should definitely post all of us pictures from previous trips, kind of our, I don't know, not necessarily our first trip that got us really into Disney, but just like one that we think is cool or something. But yeah, I guess I'll go next. So I've been a big Disney nerd pretty much my entire life. I have pictures and pictures and pictures of me as a child just wearing like some awesome 90s Lion King outfits and a Pocahontas backpack and whatever. So for Christmas, when I was 6 years old, my parents decided that they were going to take me and my brother to Disney World, and this was my first trip. And I don't remember a ton, which is why I'm a huge advocate for wait until your kid is like 8-ish, not 6-ish or earlier. Like, I get the idea of, you getting to see how happy they are at the time, but I really wish I remembered more. But what I do remember is just, I don't know, pure bliss, just being so excited to be there. And I do believe it was during the 25th anniversary, but since it was during Christmas time, I got to miss the Pepto-Bismol castle. So I think that probably helped make it a little bit more magical. And I went again when I was about 8 years old, right after Animal Kingdom opened. I remember riding Countdown to Extinction, which is now called Dinosaur, as many of you have probably ridden it. And that was kind of it. Like, I only went twice as a kid. I loved it. But I don't know, never really went back. It wasn't in my family's plans, I guess, until I guess I was probably 19 or 20. I met my best friend, and he was really into Disney, and he went like every year religiously and had friends that lived down there. And so I went on my first, I guess, real Disney trip, the one that like got me hooked. I think it was 2010, and I just remember being like a child. I was truly 20-year-old child running around the parks. I was like, I want to take a picture with all the characters. I want to do this. I want to do that. And I have been every year at least once since 2010. That trip is definitely the one that got me kind of addicted to Disney vacations. And the reason that I love Disney so much, forgive the cheesiness, is and the probably cliche, but it's like the one place in the entire world that I don't think about the outside world. And I don't think about work. I don't think about any of the stress. I just, when I am driving up and I see that big Walt Disney World sign, just get this feeling of like relief just rushes over me. And while I'm there, there's nothing else that exists. And you don't have to think about politics and all the bad stuff going on in the world. And it's just such a nice escape from reality. So, and it makes me happy. It makes a lot of people happy. And yeah, that's really why I love it.
That's great.
Yeah.
So my turn. Let's see. So I guess first of all, I'll start off by saying I'm the younger of the children in my family. I have an older brother. He's 3 years older than me, and we were lucky enough to take a trip to Disney World pretty much every year when I was growing up. So I mean, Disney World has always been a part of my life because my parents started taking my brother before I was born. And then after that, it was just, I was there. So it's like, I feel like I basically grew up in Disney, at least is it being a part of, our family experiences and our vacations and everything. But every year we would go, and I've mentioned this plenty of times before, but we would almost always stay at Fort Wilderness at the campground. And that was always really special. I felt like it was, as special as Disney World is, it was like this whole other experience that we got to do on top of that every year. So we would load up. I remember sometimes we would just when I was really young, my parents would just wake me up in the morning and just scoop me up, put me in the car, and still asleep, and we would just hit the road early. And I remember we'd wake up and we'd already be in Florida, and I knew it was close to happening. I knew we were close to being there and we were going to make it. But yeah, it was, I have so many fond memories of being at Fort Wilderness, and, not only getting to go and do, the iconic Disney stuff with your favorite characters in the parks, but every day getting to come home and, have that really family bonding time at the campground and get to do that kind of stuff. So it was really for me, it was almost like getting to go on 2 vacations at once every year when we did it. And that was always really, really special to me. But yeah, we went pretty much every year since I was born up until I was a teenager. And when I went to college, it was, where I couldn't go every year. My parents still went every year, and they would always go to Food and Wine, and I was always super jealous that they were getting to go and I wasn't able to go when I was in school. And I was always super salty about that. But yeah, eventually, for me and my now wife's senior years in college, we had kind of scrounged up enough money to go on a vacation, and I was like, hey, I think we might be able to swing Disney. And so we did that. We did it on super cheap everything. I think it was by far the cheapest Disney vacation I've taken. And but it was still just so much fun. It was, we didn't care what hotel we were staying in. We didn't care that we weren't getting to eat at the fanciest restaurants. It was just we were at Disney, and that was all that really mattered. And I remember taking that trip and just immediately being, connected back to my childhood. But at the same time, it's really great that you're, it's you're connecting 2 halves of your life almost. It's I had all these awesome memories growing up with my parents, my brother, and everything, the whole family. And now it's I get that same connection to my future with my wife at the same place. So that was really special to me. And same as Mario, we got engaged at Disney and everything. So that's, even further connecting it to the rest of our lives. And it's just, it's really great. I've taken so many trips now, and it's like I've got to see it in so many different ways. You know, we took the single family trips. We did a big extended family trip with like all of my dad's side of the family, which he had 4 brothers and sisters and tons of cousins, everything. We did that one year, and that was a blast doing it that way. You know, I've taken trips with just me and a couple close friends, and I've done obviously numerous times with me and my wife, and it's like it's awesome because every different group of people you go with, it's like it's the same Disney magic, but you get to experience it in slightly different ways depending on who you go with. So that's always been a really cool aspect of it to me, is that it's this awesome vacation destination, but really, you know, you can make it what you want it with who you go with. So um, yeah, like I said, I would love to sit down and take a tally just of how many times I've gone, and now that I'm, you know, fairly local, how many times I get to go now and everything. But it's like almost every time it's like it's a cool, new, unique experience, and I have so much nostalgia, so many memories tied to it growing up and now and everything, and just yeah, it's just a great place to go, and it's very, very special to my life.
I just want to
Yeah.
I want to tie back to what you just said with the like going with different people and how it's the same Disney magic, but you get to have a different experience, because that's like the most true thing that I think I've ever heard about taking different people to Disney. Like every time I've gone, you know, I know what trips with my family are like. I know what trips with Andy are like. I know what trips with my friends are like, and none of those are the same thing. And it's crazy how it's the same place but different experiences every time. And I'm sure we all get this. Like, you know, when you talk to someone that doesn't quite get it, and they're like, "Well, why are you going back to Disney again?" And it's hard to explain because there really is something there that makes you want to go back, that makes you want to experience the magic again, and just it changes every time for me personally, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, like I mean, one that I particularly think about too is like I have a friend who is not, you know, very big into Disney stuff. His wife is, but he's not. But we ended up staying at the Animal Kingdom Lodge for her birthday because that's what she had wanted to do. So you know, even though he wasn't big into, you know, what you would probably call the stereotypical Disney stuff, you know, he was so, you know, interested in sitting there and just like being able to watch the animals and observe him, and it was like yeah, that was just kind of just one example, but there's so many ways that you can say, see, like a lot of people might say, well, I don't think Disney's for me, and it's like, well, maybe what you think is Disney World might not exactly be for you, but I could almost guarantee if you really dig and are willing to put in some time planning, you'll find plenty of stuff that would be fun and interesting for a lot of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It's so funny because like I had this conversation with a friend a while back, and you know, having gone with like my family and stuff, my cousin was there and we were talking about it too, and we were all saying like she didn't quite understand why we go back as much as we do. She's like, you know, you guys are saving to buy a house, but you'll go to Disney or you'll do this and that, but like Disney is a constant for you. Why? Like what makes it so special? And I tried to explain it, and I'm like, you know, it's just it's not about the rides. It's not about like, you know, I had this awesome dinner at this place. Like, I go for different things than that. Like, I could do a whole day at the parks and not ride a single ride, and that's still a good day at Disney for me. It's
Mhm.
Hmm.
being in that atmosphere, being in the bubble, and honestly feeling like I don't have to worry about anything. Like you said, Beth, it's that one place that kind of you're in the Disney bubble. You don't have to worry about the outside world because it just for a couple days doesn't exist.
Mhm.
And like trying to explain that to someone that doesn't get it, it's really funny. But I remember that conversation because she was like, you know, maybe eventually I'll go and I'll get it, but like for now I don't understand. And my cousin looked at me, he's like, no, I get it. Like he doesn't go as often as I do. Like I think the last time he went was probably 2014 when we all went. And like just having him say like I haven't been there in that long, but I get it. Like it's a thing that like to know it, you've had to have been there before.
Yeah, for sure. I like
Now-
the part where you're talking about you're saving up for a house or this and that and whatever. Why do you keep going to Disney? And I'm just like, if you ask that question, you just
You don't get it.
really
You
don't get
understand. Yeah, the Disney bucket of money, that's just a completely different bucket
Yeah,
of money. That
it's-
doesn't get touched with other stuff.
right?
Yeah, that's the truth. Like, oh man. Now I gotta ask you guys. We've gone through our like Disney careers. Do you guys have like one memory that sticks out in your mind that like someone says, "Why do you go to Disney?" Or what does Disney mean to you? And like something pops up.
Oh man, I have
no.
a few.
Just the way you said that was
literally like it's so funny. This is just so stereotypical, like me being the Station 71 drunk, I guess. But like literally as soon as you said that, the one that popped into my head was this time that I was at Hollywood Studios with my boyfriend and a couple of other friends, and we were going to go see the Beauty and the Beast stage show, and we'd had quite a bit to drink and continued to drink until like the show was starting. We're sitting in the seats drinking, and I just feel like me and my boyfriend are being the most obnoxious people ever, just like laughing at how bad the costumes were and how bad the like transition scene with the blanket is. And then I still cried at the end. And I was like, that's what it's about. That's the Disney right there. I still cried. But yeah, so it's a really random and weird memory. It's, by far not my favorite day at Disney or my, I don't know, most exciting or whatever day, but that's for some reason the one that stuck out to me.
Oh man, I know I have so many thinking back to when I was younger, but I guess one that happened recently that I don't know why it just happened to jump into my mind too. My friend's gonna kill me. This is the same one that I was talking about a minute ago. That's not the biggest fan of Disney. I don't think he listens to this. I hope not. But we got him and his wife to meet us for the Halloween party. I think it was 2 years ago. And me and my wife dressed up as Prince Eric and Ariel. And I was trying to pick out a costume, and like we were obviously trying to do a couple's costume, and I was trying to do something that I was like not gonna be that tied down with. Like, I know that's not very festive and in the spirit of Halloween, but I was trying to find like an out so that I could wear like semi-normal clothes and still walk around the park, because I hate having to get like dressed up in a Halloween costume. But anyways, we decided on that, and it was really easy. I bought like a pair of these like boots that look like Prince Eric boots, and I already had blue pants and a white shirt, and I just bought a thing of red material to tie the little waistband thing on, and it's like boom, I was good to go. And I was super excited because I didn't really have to dress up. Well, so my friend that's not really into Disney, we talked him and his wife to come into the party with us and everything, and he did not want to dress up. And I kept telling him, like, dude, you got to dress up. Like, everybody comes to the party and dress up, which isn't exactly true, but I'm like, it's more fun if you dress up. So I was going to convince him to dress up. So anyways, he was the whole time leading up to it, we ended up going into the park kind of early, and they were going to meet us there. So I was texting him back and forth, and he must have asked me 15 times between that morning when we got up to go and when they met us there, like, are you really wearing a costume? I was like, yes, I have a costume on. He's like, no, but it's like, are you wearing a costume? And I'm like, yes, I'm wearing a costume. Why do you keep asking me this? Anyways, he showed up, and it was the absolute best reveal ever. His wife was dressed as Bo Peep, and it was awesome. Cool costume. She bought it online. He came as Buzz Lightyear, and he had on like the full on like Buzz Lightyear spandex suit with these like inflatable pop out wings that he wore. And it was just like, it was the funniest thing seeing him show up in that. And he got so mad at me because the first thing he said is, "You're not wearing a costume. You just got regular clothes on." So,
So, do you have a picture of this?
oh my gosh, I will have to dig through my PhotoPass pictures, but I know there are pictures of this because we obviously took as many as possible because he was so grumpy about having worn that and me, quote unquote, not wearing a costume that day.
That's so awesome.
That is fantastic. I have a couple memories that like I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you guys talk about. None of them are like specifically funny or like I don't know, but to me they kind of like it defines that Disney magic to me. And one of them being our trip in 2014. Half of our family stayed for like half of the trip, and then the other half of the family, my aunt is DVC because she's the only one that gets it. And we decided to stay at a 3-bedroom room in Bay Lake Tower and buy tickets for Very Merry Christmas, kind of big splurge Christmas thing. It was the first time I had ever done any of the hard ticket events. And I remember walking into Magic Kingdom that day. I remember everybody like going into the party, not quite thinking that it was what it was going to be. Cause like I said, half of my family doesn't quite get it. So all of the adults left, all of like everybody else left. And it was me and my 2 younger cousins. And I remember walking down Main Street and it was just snowing. And even though it's not real snow, like I know what real snow is, like just the feeling of being there, being in that, like the atmosphere, a place that makes me happy, seeing snow, as weird as it sounds, like all of that stuff, just that moment was such a like a standout magical moment to me. Or the first time that I remember seeing the Osborne lights, I remember standing in the middle of the streets of America and just like spinning around and being surrounded by bright Christmas lights, and just everything was so much to take in. It's kind of like a sensory overload. That was another one that was super magical for me. But best of all, this is one that I always tell, and I swear I've probably told this one on here. This is where my stories start to get kind of funny. So my 21st birthday, we're in Epcot, or we're going to Epcot. It's like the second day of our trip, and I'm wearing my button that says it's my birthday. My 2 friends are with me. They have the buttons that say that they're celebrating. And as we're walking in, we get stopped by the bag checker who's checking my camera bag, and he looks at me, he looks at the button, and he says, "Oh, it's your birthday." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's my birthday." He's like, "How old?" I said, 21. He's like, "I kind of figured because, you're coming in." And he goes, "The word of the day is responsibility." And I'm like, "Okay, here we go." And he's like, "Remember, it's hot. Don't overdo yourself." He's like, I see a lot of kids go through here, and, they overdo it. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but like I kind of was like, okay, whatever. And my friends were walking behind me, and he puts his hand up over his mouth and he goes, "Watch him." And I don't know why, but it's just like the dumbest thing, and it's so funny to me. It's still one of those things that I think about all the time. And I'm like, yeah, remember that stupid thing that happened when we were going through bag check the one time? But like stuff like that, I think, like I said before, the memories, the nostalgia, all of that kind of ties back to why we do this, why we keep doing it.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to ask you, this will probably be much easier for Beth since you're older when you go, but what is y'all's first Disney World memory?
I have a very stupid one, and the only reason I remember it is because of a picture. But
well,
I don't know if you. Okay, so as dumb as it sounds, I remember meeting the 3 caballeros out front of the Mexico Pavilion. Only because there's a picture of me, and like I'm gonna send this to our group chat so we can post it in there. But like this is the oldest picture that I have from us going to Disney, and it's so like it just feels so surreal to me because I know that like half of these characters don't meet anymore.
Aw. Um, thinking like really, really hard back. I do remember like bits and pieces from the trip when I was like 6 years old, but specifically, and I guess it's going to make a lot of sense now that my favorite attraction is Haunted Mansion. But I remember riding Haunted Mansion and the very end where the ghost is like in the doom buggy with you. I remember being just like blown away. Like, oh my god, there was a ghost sitting beside me, you guys. So yeah, that was truly some Disney magic for a 6-year-old. I was like 100% convinced that that was real.
But yeah, I remember when it was still the old Pepper's Ghost effect, like just how convincing it was even back
Yeah,
then.
definitely.
I mean, like the new one is cool and all, but I mean that it was just so classic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's funny. My probably, going so young and for so long consistently, like it's hard to put the timeline and like which of these memories I have was actually the earliest one. But I know one that's definitely tied back to a picture, like you had said, Mario, that helps me remember was like riding Mr. Toad's Wild Ride with my brother because we have a picture of that, and like my parents always tell me like that it was my favorite ride as a kid growing up, and I look back and I'm like, really? But
that one?
Yeah, I know, but I definitely remember loving it as a kid, and it's kind of one of those. It's like it's hard to really explain why. You just do sometimes as a kid, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely remember going on that multiple times. I think they probably got tired of having to ride that one with me.
And I guess they weren't very bummed when it closed then.
I'm sure they weren't.
Yeah, that makes me think of like I got a couple more questions for you guys now that Brian said that. Is there one attraction that you guys either remember when it opened or remember riding that's now gone, like that would kind of, I guess, date your Disney fanness? Like for me, for example, I remember when Snow White was there in Magic Kingdom, like first couple trips we went on, I was terrified of that attraction without having even gone anywhere near going inside of it. That was always one that, like, funny enough, like I said, my first roller coaster was Rock and Roller Coaster, and that ride is definitely more intense than an attraction like that. And I pretty much would do anything else in the park, but refuse to ride Snow White, and everyone made fun of me for that.
Aw. Well, I remember another like brief glimpse in my mind of extraterrestrial alien encounter.
Ooh.
And being 6 years old and that not going over super well. That was a very traumatic trip. We went to both Disney World and Universal Studios, and I also was traumatized by the Jaws and King Kong rides at Universal. I was like, what are my parents trying to do to this poor 6-year-old Beth on this trip? But they did I did remember another early memory that's kind of funny. So we were standing in line for Tower of Terror, and it felt like the longest line of all time, as any line probably feels to a 6-year-old. And we get up to the front of the line, and I suddenly am like chickening out and deciding like, hey, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And like getting upset. And my mom, like, I remember her like leaning down and looking at me, and she's like, if we get out of this line, we are not riding this. And I was like, okay. And so I begrudgingly like got on because I didn't want to like have FOMO. And then when we got off, I was like, oh my god, I want to ride that again. That was so much fun.
Oh man, that's good. One that I distinctly remember was I guess this isn't exactly related to your question, Mario, but when Rock and Roller Coaster first opened, and I was a very short kid. Like I hit a growth spurt later in life, but like I was extremely short as a kid growing up, and I remember, like having an older brother too. It just made it even more frustrating that like when rides like that came out and we went to theme parks, like he could ride them and I couldn't. And I think I told this on here before, but for those that didn't hear the story the first time around, I was like really, really unhappy that I couldn't go. I'm pretty sure it was Rock and Roller Coaster that I couldn't go on one time because I was too short. I mean, I was like barely too short, like an inch at most too short to go on this thing. And I was like so mad because I was like, I thought this was gonna be the year I was gonna get to do it, and it wasn't again. But my dad went out and bought a pair of flip flops and like cut the thongs off and glued them to the bottom of a pair of shoes I had
Oh
on
my
that we
god.
brought into the park, and I put those on so that I was tall enough to get on it. So
That is hilarious. I feel like I vaguely remember you telling this story, but it's still good to hear again.
yeah, I don't condone that, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yep,
Yeah.
got to.
I have weird memories of like when Expedition Everest opened. I remember that being on the resort TV like 24/7. I also remember Soarin' opening, but like I don't remember anything like early on.
It's so
Um,
weird. Like when I think back to rides that are such a like stable part of like my Disney memories. It's weird to think it's like, oh yeah, that was not actually there when I was a little kid. That did open up like as I was growing up. And like even thinking about Animal Kingdom is a big one for me, is that like the majority of my childhood, Animal Kingdom wasn't open.
mhm.
And I do remember getting super excited because I mean, I'm sure y'all remember the Animal Kingdom advertisement that was in like every single Disney VHS tape leading up to
Yep.
it opening. Oh man, that was advertising at its finest right there. Because I mean I distinctly remember it as a kid, and that getting me so amped up about going.
Yeah. So awesome.
Oh boy. I yeah, I miss like things like that where I feel like Disney doesn't market itself the same way it used to because they don't need to
That is
anymore.
definitely the
Mhm.
truth.
Boy.
So I have a question for you
Go ahead.
guys. Brian, I guess you're probably gonna have to estimate, but do you know how many Disney trips you have taken to date?
Oh man, I would love to. People always joke around about that. Like, how awesome would it be to like have like a thing that kept up with your life stats? And you get to see all those things. But man, I don't know. I mean, I would have to say like for actual trips. Oh man, I mean, it was like an annual trip. As far as like days in the park that I spent. I mean, when
Yeah,
we would
days. Let's do days.
days in the park. I mean, if we generally took week-long trips when we came, and I would say almost every one of those was park days. We would take a couple break days, but I mean, let's just on the lower end estimate like 5 days every year I went for 15 years.
Jeez.
What that's 75 right there, and that's not even counting all the times I've been in the parks now that I'm a pass holder. I mean, I've been here for three years, and I've had my pass for pretty much that whole time. And I think me and my wife actually broke it down, and we saw that we spent about at least 20 park days a year, like not counting water parks and that kind of stuff, since we got our passes. So I mean, it's definitely well over 100 days that I've spent in Disney World.
Nice.
I honestly don't even want to estimate because I couldn't tell you how long the first couple trips that we used to do were. I know that like they definitely varied. Because I remember there were times that I was out of school for like a week, and then there were times that I was out of school for like a couple days. But just the ones that I remember recently, I know I took a 2-week trip with my aunt one year. back in like 2012. My birthday trip was 4 days. The last time that we went was 7 days. Andy and I did a 3-day trip somewhere in there. Yeah, I'm gonna stop counting because at this point, there's so many other little ones here and there.
Yeah, I've started trying to keep track in recent years, but I would estimate mine is probably 50 plus days. 50 wonderful days.
Now, I got another one for you. Is there something that you guys used to do when you went to Disney that you, knowing what you know now, would not do on any of your trips?
Park warrior.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But that's also a circumstance of being able to go as often as I go and as obviously as much as Brian goes. It's like not a necessity because we know that, oh, if we don't get to it, we'll just do it next time. And I mean, you too, Mario, even, still, you're going to go back. So it's not like the end of the world if you miss something. Whereas certain people, like, if this is their once in a lifetime vacation or they only get to do it every 5 years or so, I can understand it, but it just, on my trip this past weekend, I decided I was finally going to do the thing. And I went to all 4 parks in a single day, and it was over the course of 5 hours. And I know that if I had spread it out more, it wouldn't have been as terrible. But it was like I had blisters, I was aching, I was sweating, I was accomplished, and it was still really fun. And it's like nice, I don't know, Disney street cred to have done it. But yeah, I just can't imagine being like a go, go, go kind of person in the parks like I used to be.
Even after I got my pass, like it took me some time to stop being like that. I mean, even when we know it's like, hey, we can go back next weekend, it was like we would like hit the park so hard, and like we would like try to stagger the fast passes where they're right after one another, so we could try to immediately pick up a fast pass after the end of that. And it was kind of like, just over the past couple of years, I'm like, why was I doing that? And now I am definitely able to go and enjoy it at a much more leisurely pace. And I have to say, it is much better this way.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. I also think that that's probably a sign of us just getting older too. Like,
That's
I know
probably
I need
what it
breaks.
is.
No, I refuse. It's because I've become more relaxed, not that I'm older. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So my thing that I know that I wouldn't do now, and this is going to be something that's really dumb. My family used to eat at Rainforest Cafe every trip.
Oh my god, what?
Yep.
The one at Animal Kingdom, I guess?
Both, because the Disney Springs one was there too. Yeah, back when it was downtown Disney. And I know one trip we subbed it for T-Rex, but that's not any better.
Oh man, it's so funny you mentioned that, because like I remember when me and my wife took our trip when we were still in college down there, we went to Disney Springs, and she saw the T-Rex restaurant, and she was like completely serious. Like, she was super excited. She said, "Oh my gosh, can we go eat there?" I'm like, well, I was like, the food's like really, really bad, and there's a lot nicer restaurants we can go to. Anyway, we didn't end up getting to go there. And like, I think she kind of understands that now, that it's the like super, super like touristy crap food place to go eat. But like, that's always the joke now when we like walk past it. She always just like joking. It's like, let's go in there. Let's go eat.
Oh, that's funny. So take this with a grain of salt, because everything that a cast member says, take with a grain of salt. But I have heard that Rainforest Cafe and that T-Rex are the 2 busiest restaurants in the country.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yeah. That would not surprise me, because it is like, as weird as this sounds, it's the most touristy trap thing on Disney property that's not related to Disney. Yeah. So like, the weird thing is now, like, growing up, I know we have one about 35 minutes from where I live right now, and like, I could feasibly go to the Rainforest Cafe any day I want to. When I was a kid, I didn't realize that. So,
Yeah.
like, as a kid, seeing those big animals, or even like the T-Rex, like I would venture to say the T-Rex is probably widely more popular because it's not as big of a chain. If there are even other ones outside of the park, but like, it's the draw of how cheesy it is.
Yeah. So my best friend works at the Disney Springs Rainforest Cafe, and I was sitting there having some drinks at the bar after park day this past weekend, and boy, oh boy, I got tired of the sounds of the gorilla going "Hoo, hoo, hoo, hoo," like every 10 minutes, and like the thunderstorm, but when is it gonna happen next? Every 15 minutes, who knows? And I told him, I was like, I don't know how you go in that place for 8 to 10 hours a day. He's like, you get really desensitized. Honestly,
I
don't
was
even
about to
notice
say,
it happening anymore.
It has to be white noise in the background at a certain point.
Yeah,
Yep.
but I
Like,
just
if
can't
you are
imagine.
noticing that, that would drive people absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's rough.
This is kind of going back to the earlier question, not to derail it from like things that we wouldn't do anymore. But I just thought of two things that will totally date our Disney time. But let's go back and talk about Legacy Fast Pass and the paper Fast Pass system. Like, oh
God, I have
boy,
a stack of them in a box that I kept.
that's throwback. I honestly like miss that sometimes. I miss being able to just walk up to a counter, scan my room card, and then like get a ticket that popped out. And if I
And then
forgot to do
sometimes
it,
you would
I
get
keep
an
it.
extra one. Sometimes you would get like here's one for Winnie the Pooh that we're just giving you just cause. And it's like, I'm not gonna use it, but thank you. It's just like an exciting extra,
Yeah, it was fun because I don't know. This is gonna sound so stupid, but it was like nowadays you just go online, you book it, and you get it. It was like back in the days, man. It was like rope drop. The fastest person got that fast pass. It was like a physical challenge to be able to get it. It felt good. It's like a little award
You worked
that
hard
you
for
got.
that fast pass.
Yeah, shoving people out of the way, being a little kid running in between people's legs trying to get up there first. Like, yeah, you had to work for it back in the day.
Man.
So
These kids don't know nothing about it.
have I ever told you about the time that we screwed up our fast passes?
I don't think so.
So okay, this had to be like one of our earlier trips. I mean, it was definitely one of the ones like with my whole family, and like I was younger, but I was old enough that my cousin and I could go off and do whatever we wanted. And when you're a kid, you kind of don't realize how those systems work. So we, you knew, okay, I've got a key to the world card. I just scan it on the thing, or I put it in the thing, and it gives me a fast pass. Like we knew that much, but we didn't quite understand that like you had to check the times on it. And I'll never forget this because I still have the fast pass from it. We walked up to Rock and Roller Coaster at like 9:00 in the morning, and we scanned the key to the world card and got a fast pass for Rock and Roller Coaster at 8:00 at night.
Oh, I hated when that happened.
And the best part of that is you're like, the Legacy Fast Pass system worked in the way that like my Disney experience does when you run out of your 3 fast passes, where you can add more. So like, instead of going, I get 3 fast passes in the morning, it was, I get this 1 fast pass with an hour window of when I can come back. And it was usually like almost immediate, or like maybe an hour down the line, unless you didn't check the time, but you were locked out from everything. So I couldn't like hold on to my Rock and Roller Coaster fast pass and then go like do a Tower of Terror one for like an hour from now. I had that Rock and Roller Coaster fast pass, and I was stuck for the rest of the day.
Man. Yeah, definitely some improvements with the electronic use of fast passes.
Yeah, as nostalgic as the old system was, I don't think anybody can make a very logical argument for it being better than the new one.
The only argument I can make is that new Fast Pass holds up the line on a lot of things that don't need it to, but that's a whole nother topic for another night.
Yeah.
That's a you didn't do your research thing.
Well, not
I
even that.
think.
Like, I mean, if I'm in standby for something that probably doesn't need a Fast Pass, and like the line is decently long because that option is available, it's going to make my time in standby a lot longer for like to get on because they're queuing Fast Pass up
Yeah,
at a
that's
higher
true.
succession. So like that's where it gets me, but that's a whole nother argument for
Yeah.
another night.
Not extremely related, but the one like thing that really irks me going to Disney now is I swear I think I hear this once every time I'm in the park. We'll have a fast pass for
No.
something, and we're waiting to get into the fast pass line, and obviously the fast pass line is kind of held up because everybody's having to scan their magic bands before they go in. And I hear somebody behind me go, "Oh, the fast pass line's longer than the regular line." It's like, oh my gosh.
You did the voice perfectly.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say that they didn't pay for the Fast Pass.
Oh no!
That's another one
Oh,
that
I
drives
hate
me
I hear that
bonkers.
one a lot too. Like I distinctly remember the last time we were getting on Space Mountain, and like it was a super long wait, and we had a fast pass for it, and we're passing by. Like as we're walking by, I hear someone go, "Man, it must be nice to have money to pay to skip all the lines." And I'm like, that is not how this works at
Right.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, another thing. This is just a me thing that I just thought of too. That's gonna date me a little bit. Does anybody remember? And obviously now it's kind of like a hot nostalgia thing since Galaxy's Edge is coming around. But does anybody remember when Rex was on Star Tours? Because I have very vivid memories of that.
Rex was on Star Wars.
The original, not Rex, like Pirates of the, or not Pirates of the Caribbean, Toy Story. Wow, that was bad.
Oh, the robot,
Rex, like the little robot that was voiced by Paul Rubens.
Oh, okay, yes.
RX-24. He was the pilot of Star Tours.
Okay.
I legit thought you were talking about Rex from Toy Story, and I was like,
I
what?
I definitely missed that one.
Yeah, no, that was the one that I'm thinking about things that like aren't there anymore that I remember, and I remember riding with like the original Star Tours.
Yeah. I vaguely remember as well.
I mean, I think we all remember Maelstrom, right?
Mm-hmm. That's another one that I have like a flash of memory from when I was a child, because that troll that came up at the very end terrified me.
Oh, it was spooky for sure. But it's so funny. Like I don't know, maybe I just didn't have the same experience as everyone else did. Like I definitely remember going on it as a kid, but even then it was kind of like almost just like tongue in cheek. Let's go on Maelstrom, because it was like the kind of just cheesy troll ride, And then it was just always so funny to me that when it got replaced, everyone was so up in arms about it, and I was kind of just like, really, guys? Like, even back as a kid, I remember just going on it because it was so cheesy.
Yeah, it was never one of my favorites by any means. I don't really think people just got upset that when it closed, because they're like, no, this is my Disney World and I want it to stay the way that I remember it.
Yeah, this theme park that's been in constant state of change since it opened.
Right?
Yeah, I don't want it to change.
I remember like Maelstrom was one that has a lot of nostalgia for me, because that was a must ride every trip for my family. But even then, like Brian said, I knew it was dated, and like I was upset when it closed, but that's because that was like tradition for us. And it was more of, like you said, a tongue-in-cheek, like very dated kind of quaint thing.
Yeah, like I mean, I don't want to say this as a direct comparison because it's not fair, but like I talk every week almost about Country Bear Jamboree. I love Country Bear Jamboree because I can go and I can laugh at and with it. I know that it's not an e-ticket attraction anymore, and that it shouldn't be anybody's favorite attraction in the park, but I still love it. And I guess Maelstrom was kind of like in a much smaller way similar for me as a kid.
Yeah,
It was just a goofy thing to kind of go laugh at, you know.
Yeah.
the spirit of Norway.
Oh, another dated thing here. Who remembers Pre-Tron Test Track?
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved it. I still really wish they would go back to it. Like the crash dummy thing was, I thought it was a way better theming.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of Crash Dummy, I'm gonna send this horrible nightmare fuel tweet that the Mickey Wiki tweeted out earlier of the Crash Dummy walk around character that apparently met that I did not know about to you guys.
Excuse me?
Oh, it's pure nightmare fuel.
Oh boy. Let's open this up and look.
Oh my god.
What? Oh no. The dead, empty, cold eyes. Not
That
even
makes-
eye sockets. What? Who came up with this?
This makes me so uncomfortable. Like,
Who signed off on this?
And apparently their names were Lumpy and Fletch.
great.
So on that note, we're like an hour and 16 minutes into this episode. I think this is probably a good place to wrap it up unless you guys have something else you want to talk about.
We're gonna leave it on that?
Oh man. High note.
I mean, unless there's something specific that you guys really want to talk about, because we can go a little bit over. We have skipped a couple episodes this month, so we have the data to do that.
Oh man.
It's funny that we originally thought, oh, I don't know if this is gonna take up a whole episode, but turns out we like being nostalgic.
Yeah, look at that.
Well, that's the funny thing. Like when I think about Disney, a lot of the things I think about are like things that are either classic to me, things that aren't around much like in the last couple of years, or you know, stuff that I have fond memories of. And it's really bizarre that like that's the stuff that sticks out, but I guess it really does tie it to the memories of Walt Disney World. That's what makes it special for me.
Here.
And now we can end it that way because that's a much nicer ending than
Yes,
these two creepy crash dummies.
definitely. I can't believe that was a thing, man.
Yeah, that's.
That literally like made my stomach turn a little bit. Like I was like, I'm normally not that like uncomfortable about stuff, but the idea of seeing that walking around, that seems like something that belongs at Hollywood Horror Nights or Halloween Horror Nights, excuse me.
Or at least don't make them walk around. Like stick them somewhere and let people decide if they want to go see that or not. You know, I don't want.
Yeah.
If I was a parent of like a 4-year-old kid, I wouldn't want that just coming walking up to my kid. That would, no.
If you ever have some time, I would absolutely like sit or scroll through this Twitter feed though, because there's a lot of like cool dated stuff on here, and like even just looking back at it, like there's photos from Lights Motor Action that probably could have talked about for a while. Like there's older photos from like Journey into Imagination.
Can I just say how upsetting it was for me that you couldn't get picked as a volunteer for Lights Motors Action unless you were a child? Because you got a special.
There's still stuff like that around the park that I'm like,
yeah, but
I want
you got a special pin for being the person.
Yeah.
And it's like I never had a chance. It's hateful.
It's like that in a much smaller scale. It's like Enchanted Tales with Belle now. It's like there's too many kids in there. I'm like, man, I ain't gonna get picked this time.
Yeah. That's so funny. I haven't done that in a while.
Scrolling through this Twitter just reminded me of like the Year of a Million Dreams too. Like that was huge, and I remember going like that year because they were doing the giveaways and stuff like that. And like 2000, when they put the wand on Spaceship Earth, like Disney used to do so many cool things.
Mm-hmm.
The Sorcerer's Hat at Hollywood Studios.
Rest in peace.
I loved it.
I mean, as somebody that was like the height of my pin trading life too, and like that, yeah, having that gone is a bit sad.
Mhm.
Now I'm like
Oh.
scrolling through all of this stuff and I'm like feeling very nostalgic.
So kind of not completely related to Disney, but so I live like not even 30 minutes from Port Canaveral, so like we have found that as easy as Disney vacations are for us, cruises are really easy too. So we went on another like weekend cruise this past weekend, and I have to say, like after coming off of the Disney one, I'm kind of like a sedity brat now because I went from like the most expensive and like high class Disney cruise to like the cheapest weekend booze cruise I've ever done before on Norwegian. And I was like, after we got off, like I was kind of talking with Jordan and like saying, oh, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. And I was kind of like, you know what? We should not have done that like directly after the Disney cruise.
Yeah.
It was fun and everything still though, but I was like, it was not even close to the same level.
You spoiled yourself.
I did. And it, like as soon as we got back, Jordan like got on the computer and she's like, "You want to start looking at other like Disney cruises?" And I'm like the wallet hurts, but yeah, I kind of do. Like we got to plan this way out in the future, but yeah.
Doesn't hurt to start planning.
Yeah, that's true.
Man,
Oh, so I got a cool picture I'm gonna send in the chat from my childhood.
I have to go through like a whole bunch of. I know I have like scanned photos somewhere. I couldn't find as many of them on Facebook as I thought, but I'm gonna have to go through those at some point.
Yeah, I definitely have more, but this one I really like because it's me and my brother when we were little, and then again we did the like time lapse photo thing.
Oh, that's a good picture. That's a really good picture.
So I thought it was really cool how it looks pretty much the same.
Yeah.
That's cool.
A lot taller though.
Isn't that how it always works?
I'm gonna have to text my mom and see if she can send me some of the old Disney pictures.
I think I have some of them scanned in, and then I'm gonna have to go dig in for those so I can put some in the show notes. Anyway, I gotta get to bed. I'm like getting real tired, and I could probably scroll through this all night. But I will talk.
I was
to you
about to
guys
say
later.
like, oh, what are we? Nope, we don't need to pick a topic for next week.
No, because we get to. This is like vacation week because like it's so less planning compared to like what we would normally do, and then I don't have to edit. I just like take the live audio and upload it right up to the thing.
So before we go, did you guys? I found a pin that I still have like on the regular backing of Tiana that my friend got me, but I already had it. So I thought that could be a prize.
I may have some pins I'd be willing to give away. I got to go through and look, and I think I actually do have some one backings too. That's all I would probably have. That would be worth anything.
I can try and run to the mall and like, I don't know, Hot Topic or something and see if they have anything that would be good.
I can definitely. I mean, you might have to twist my arm, but I guess I can make a trip to Disney Springs.